Okay, hey, record loving friends, it's Brian from TokyoRecordStyle. I really hesitated to make this. I'm not really convinced this is the best idea, and I'm probably the last person who ought to be weighing in on this because I have no horse in the race at all. But it's important to me for some reason. I'm not even completely sure why. I come here as, just expressing my opinion about things. Consider it an editorial piece, and if you don't agree with me, that's okay. So in the vinyl world, for the last couple of weeks or so, there's been an ongoing discussion about provenance and about source and original master tapes, etc., etc. You maybe have seen the conversations going around. People have been describing it as outrage. And these are some of the things that people have said about what's going on. Drama, the new outrage, people's with their panties in a wad. Heads are blowing up. People are outraged. Audiophile Michigas, extremely upset. People are getting so worked up. People are too outrageous. People are too sensitive. They're too obsessed. They're ranting about deceptive marketing. It's a nuclear holocaust, somebody said. Thoroughly upset. Heads are blowing up for no reason. They're full of shit. And this is just silly. And I don't think anybody is outraged about this, okay? People are calling for a little bit more understanding, but nobody is outraged, okay? So let's all just chill out a little bit because nobody's screaming at anybody else. Nobody's furious about anything. It's just that there needs to be some understanding and people are voicing their opinions. Nobody is outraged, okay? So just let off the gas a little bit. And nobody likes to be told to chill out, but chill out. Also, people are saying that people are out for pitchforks. They're out to burn the Tower of Rhino down. And I'd like to propose that maybe the mob with the pitchforks isn't the people who are calling out Rhino, but maybe it's the people who are defending them and saying, how dare you speak against our precious Rhino? How dare you speak against the record label that gives us all these great titles? How dare you? Maybe those are the ones that are pitchforks. And I remember hearing once, like, if both sides are calling the others Nazis, that's a problem, okay? The image that comes to mind is, Monty Python's Life of Brian, where he says, all I said was that it was a meal fit for Jehovah. Blasphemer! So there's no mobs, there's no pitchforks. Yes, people have different opinions, but nobody's out for heads. Nobody's out to burn anything down. So, okay, let's keep things in perspective. What are we arguing about here? What's the debate? There's a couple of things that are going on, and I think people are not quite aligning their thoughts. It's not exactly clear to the other what's upsetting to the other and why people are so easy to dismiss it and why others think that this is such a big deal. And again, I'm nervous. I'm not going to be able to articulate this well, but I've broken it down to two questions. The first question is, does a record sound good? Do the records that the labels are putting out, do they sound good? And then the other one is the description of the product that they're putting out, is it accurate? And those are two completely separate questions. Okay, so a record can be brilliantly mastered, cut from the best available tape, beautifully pressed, incredibly dynamic, better sounding than an original pressing, and it can still be inaccurately described. One doesn't have to be a way for the other not to be, okay? A record can sound great and still be inaccurately described. Conversely, a record can be accurately described as coming from an original master recording and still sound terrible. We kind of all know this. And again, I'm not one to be speaking about this because I don't really buy records for these reasons. I don't really follow the provenance. I started buying records when they were like $5 or 50 cents. And I wish everything was still 50 cents. And I'm not really one to chase the boutique labels and the original master re-recordings and the MoFi and all of this. I just buy the records. I don't really think that deeply about it. A lot of people are saying, but it doesn't matter if it sounds great. That's not the argument that's getting put forth. Nobody's saying that the records sound bad. Nobody said that. Nobody is accusing anybody else of putting out bad records. And nobody is saying that the engineer is screwed up. And nobody is saying that even Rhino is malicious. I'm certainly not. Okay, maybe it was a bridge too far for Rhino to be called out a great betrayal. Okay, maybe it was a little melodramatic. I don't think that it was totally unfounded or unfair considering the landscape of the vinyl world for the last 5 years. And you guys all know what I'm talking about. One thing that we have to understand is best available. Just because something is the best available pressing to us, that is not an original. An original is an original. And whatever is the best available is the best available. But just because it's the best available does not automatically make it an original. Are you with me? Am I making sense? I'm trying my best here. Okay, let's talk about the master tape problem. Okay, what is even a master tape? We can't even we can't even define what a master tape is. A master tape could be a million different things. Is it right off the tape machine? What is a master tape? Okay, we've decided there's an EQ master tape. There's a 16 track, a 24 track, there's a production master recording, there's all these different master recordings. But over time, the notion of master tape, what master tape means now, is different than what maybe master tape meant in the 70s or in the 60s, okay? So what master tape might have meant in the 60s or in the 70s was a copy of the original master that went out to all the production houses and for them to put out the local pressings of the records. There was no debate over whether it was the original or how many degrees or how many generations away it was from the original, because the record just came out. It just came out that year or that month or that week. There wasn't enough time passed for the record for it to be a concern that it wasn't sourced from the original recording. Okay, there is a debate about, okay, Japan got these, or Sri Lanka got theirs, or Colombia got some, they got maybe a copy of a copy, but there wasn't a debate that it was, 5 or 10 generations later, because not that much time had passed. And furthermore, the record companies hadn't changed hands a half a dozen times, and the records hadn't moved to warehouse after warehouse, and nothing had burned down, and nothing had been lost, and nothing had even been preserved because not enough time had passed. So original master recording in 1969 has a very different meaning than what it's become in 2026. And I think Kevin Wilson, who was on the stream with Michael Fremer and Mazzy and Steve Westman, was saying that we gave ourselves this standard of original master recording since the 80s, since MoFi put this forward, and since we branded that ourselves. We accepted that that's the term that we like, that refers to the oldest one that's closest to the thing. It doesn't have to be the exact one that has this, 24 tracks on it, but it has to be however many degrees away that is required to make a pressing at large. The meaning, the definition of original master recording has evolved. And now we all should accept that when a modern consumer hears original master recording, they are expecting to hear something that is as close to the source as it possibly can be. Half a degree away from the original recording that is necessary to produce a record for the mass market, okay? We have to accept that the words change over time. Decades have passed, 4, 5, 6 decades have passed since some of these records were put out. There's a whole new landscape of technology, and maybe it's not the definition that you grew up with, but now it has come to have this definition for the modern consumer of this new offering that these record companies are offering us. If a later generation of recording ends up sounding better than the original, that may be the best copy to cut and copy from, but it doesn't automatically make it the original. The original is the original. Okay, moving on. The next claim is that now they want to know which master recording it is. Is it the UK master or is it the US master? And the issue isn't really about wanting to know which master. The issue is about a social contract that we have as customers with any company, that what we're going to buy from that company is accurately described and it's not misrepresented. And the goods that are being sold, that's a core element of any business contract that we go into when we buy something from somebody else. It's not contractual per se, but when we go to buy something, that's one of the basic tenets of any transaction. For the seller, they need to explicitly explain the specifications and the technicalities, and to the best of their ability, to create like a baseline for what the buyer is going to expect to trade. And customers are not wrong to expect that the seller is always truthful, as honest as possible with what they're delivering to the seller. Modern consumers who are buying these boutique high fidelity reissues, they're not just buying sound and the records, they're buying the packaging, they're buying the information, they're buying the provenance, and the labels are selling that as part of the value proposition. That is what their company is all about. That is the distinction that they've made by selling these high fidelity reissues. That's what makes them distinct from the other record labels. It's part of the story that they're selling us. Okay, so the next claim is, why were they satisfied with the records 2 weeks ago before they knew or cared about this? Come on, give me a break. They were fine before they knew this. Okay, well, the satisfaction that they had 2 weeks ago is the same satisfaction that they have now. People are appreciating the records for sounding great. Nobody ever claimed that they didn't sound great. This is not the debate. Nobody's trying to take that away from any of these labels. Nobody is claiming that a copy or a production copy or an EQ copy inherently makes a record sound worse. Nobody's claiming that. Nobody has said that. Expecting an original master tape to produce an inherently better sounding record than a one-to-one copy or an EQ cutting master is not the debate. The debate is describing and labeling the thing as it is and not describing it as it is not. That's the debate. Records can sound fantastic, tapes can be the best available, and the sources can be described more precisely. That is not contradictory. I hope I'm not getting lost even myself, but the next topic I want to talk about is the consumers. If it sounds great, I don't really care line of thinking versus I wish they would just label it correctly line of thinking, okay? I'm going to start with the I don't care, it doesn't matter kind of line of thinking. On Mazzy's video that he made about this that got like some 10,000 views and a gajillion comments, these were some of I pulled these quotes from the comments there. Okay, it's about the music, stupid. Okay, I could care less whether it's analog. I could care less whether it's the original master tape. If it sounds good, who cares? I don't care what they say on the album as long as it sounds good. All that matters is what comes out of the speakers. Does it sound great? Yes. Does anything else matter? I buy records if it sounds good, and then I'm happy with it. All we have any right to expect is that the record is cut from the best, usually analog source available. Okay, I find it astonishing that someone's main priority for buying a premium record is that it is just cut from a tape or some sort. Okay. As long as the record sounds great, nothing else matters. Why does this matter? If it sounds good, does it matter? I only care about the music. As long as an album is cut from the best available source, the final product sounds great. I'd pay $40 just as long as I know I'm getting the best available version. If it sounds amazing, it's worth the price, period. Okay, that's the people who say, it doesn't matter. Okay, by the way, I kind of calculated how many people of that mindset there were in the comments versus how many people were saying, I do care, and please write it correctly. Overwhelmingly, there's way more of these people. Overwhelmingly, like 60 to 70% of the comments were saying things like, if it's not the original master, just say so. I just want to know. If in the US they use the original cutting tapes, just say so. The absence of the word the before original master tapes is, as you point out in the video, key. You're right. So they're saying a master recording is fine. The master recording is not fine. People want to see evidence of the claims that are used to hype the products and steer consumers. Okay. I think transparency and wording is key. These are all separate comments, especially if it came to consumer litigation. Okay. Like if there was a class action suit against Rhino, I'm not suggesting that there should be, definitely not. But if there were, and we got down into the weeds, I don't know if they have a leg to stand on. I don't know anything about this, but I wouldn't want to be on the side of the company that's claiming something that isn't exactly what it is. Cut from a original US stereo cutting master tape would be a good thing. Also on the OB, in smaller text, some additional details like the best possible analog tape source available was used for this release, okay? People are investing significant sums of money for a high-end product. The one thing you'd expect is transparency and honesty, okay? You just want to know what you're paying for. I personally believe full transparency will only help our hobby grow. The record company should be more transparent about whether there was a digital step. Okay, we're not really talking about digital, but still. And it's understandable why we're talking about this, because these guys have hyped up things that haven't been exactly accurate. And I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. And I don't really think there was malicious intent in it. But still, they need to do their best to describe the things as accurately and precisely as they can. Or don't describe it at all. Leave it ambiguous. But don't say it's one thing only for me to open it up to find out it's something else. Get updated. Get on board with where this whole thing is going and what the consumers expect. People want to know what they're buying. Might it help if there were commonly agreed upon terms and definitions? Why should it be a secret? To whose advantage is that, okay? Rhino just needs to reword their OB, okay? What's wrong with rewording it, okay? For that kind of brand loyalty, just describe the source, plain and simple, whatever it is. Just say it plainly. Then the consumer can make an informed decision. What stops Rhino from simply stating the source on the OB and in the credits? I'm of the mindset that they don't even need to put it. I don't care about it. But I do care if they say it's something and then it turns out to be something that it's not. Okay, we need to standardize so we consumers can make informed decisions about our purchases, okay? If Chad can be clear about this, why can't everybody else? The buyer shouldn't have to get a lawyer to figure out what the hell they're getting, okay? Many things made and grown, okay, like vegetables and metals and children's products, okay? They have to state their place of origin. Is it a stretch for the music community industry to state the origin in a clear and unambiguous way? Original master should be indeed a term reserved for, well, the original, the very first master, okay? The original. Seems pretty obvious. I expect things to be what they say on the tin, that's all. Okay, hopefully the labels will have learned their lesson. There's no hiding deception in this day or you'll get called out. I mean, that's what's happening, right? We've got Yelp, we've got keyboard mafia, everybody's got a phone. You don't want to do that. I mean, you want to be as straight and narrow as you possibly can. Okay, it's about as getting close to the master as possible. Transparency is important. It's about getting as close to the master as possible. Let me come back to that one. Transparency is important. I remain dumbfounded by the pushback when it comes to clearly and concisely detailing the audio provenance of LPs. Okay, it costs exactly $0 to say what your source is. And what is the case for not telling people, even if you think they're buying cranks? Costs nothing. Is it really too much for consumers who are paying $60 to $150 for audiophile albums to demand knowing exactly what they're purchasing? Okay, demand knowing. I was kind of saying, I don't think they're demanding knowing, but this guy's demanding knowing. In my opinion, I just don't, like I said, I don't want the product to be misrepresented. Again, I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. I just do better, okay? I would argue that the label should have disclosed this, okay? I get that transparency is important. I think okay, there's lots of them. There's heaps of them, okay? I'd like to know the provenance. I wanted the label should tell us this stuff. Okay, and then there was one on here that I really wanted to point out. Oh, before I do, the people who've just like tapped out. There's a couple of good tapped out comments here. Okay, there's 8 of them that I really loved. I'm no longer intelligent enough to listen to music. I like this one. Okay, so glad I'm not an audiophile. Me too, actually. Nothing is what it seems. Okay, next one. The more you stare into the vinyl abyss, the more it stares back at you. Thank God for digital. Okay, this one's pretty accurate. We are all suckers. Number 7, my ears have aged out of this being relevant. Okay, and then number 8, my favorite here. Drama is over if you want it. Okay, and then the one that I want to call out here is that somebody wrote a comment. I just want a very good sounding recording. And Intervention Records dude, who I've seen just glimpses of out there in YouTube land. Intervention Records guy who's putting in the hard work, I think, and who's doing his best to say what it is and go the extra mile. He's calling out a handful of people. And he said, why should you have to choose between that, just wanting a very good record, and being told what a record is sourced from? Even at Rhino High Fidelity prices, you deserve both. So I salute Intervention Records, okay? Because that costs you a little bit of social clout to go against the peers in your industry to say, hey, I'm willing to call it out. And so I've forgotten your name, but I salute you and I want to get one of your records, because I think that's the attitude that we should all have, is that we should expect it. Just because it sounds good doesn't mean that it needs to be misrepresented. Just say what it is or don't say, but don't say what it's not. And then, the consumer can decide. We can decide. We should all be arguing for ourselves. We should be fighting for ourselves. That's all we want, I mean, I don't really understand. I admit, I give you that the record labels are made of people that we would all probably love and get along with, and we owe them a great deal of gratitude. Nobody is saying that they're not cool folks. But as the consumer, as the people who are putting our hard-earned money up for this stuff, and salute to the people who are hardworking to get the records to us, too, but we should be able to decide if we want it or if we don't want it. That's all. That's the only thing that matters here. Give us as best information as you can and let us decide as the consumer. Let us vote with our wallets and our ears. Don't sneak something in on the inside accidentally or, inadvertently, but just make sure it all lines up. Dot your I's and cross your T's, please. You say, I just want a very good sounding record. Okay, why should you have to choose between a very good sounding record and not knowing what you're buying? So, and then the next thing I want to talk about here, the insults, guys. Come on. I realize it's the internet, but you guys are grown adults. Come on. I mean, you guys have said things like, same jerk who said this or that. Man, come on. Assholes who are looking for arguments. People aren't looking for arguments. Okay. We're just looking for transparency and, responsibility. It's some code of ethics to follow. Is that really unreasonable? Is that looking for arguments? This miserable son of a bitch. Okay, attention-seeking, motivated. Made a mountain out of a molehill. Doesn't know what they're talking about. Just needs clicks. I mean, it's pretty insecure, if you ask me. You can never make people happy. Sensationalist. And attention-seeking, pompous people who weren't cool in high school. Oh, geez, come on. Really? That's low. Who now want to think they know something, who want to shit on our enjoyment of art. Nobody's shitting on you, okay? You have the option to move along and change the channel. Nobody's shitting on your enjoyment of music. Go on enjoying music, okay? This one really bummed me out. You probably wouldn't have the ear to tell the difference. You wouldn't have the training to hear the difference. You probably don't have the equipment to tell the difference. God, talk about. Really? That's pretty condescending. If you have less experience in writing, recording, producing, and distributing than I do, then just shut up. Good grief. So I've gone on quite a long time here. I'm going to wrap this up with a couple of last things. Final thoughts here. The issue is of consumers not wanting a record label or any business in any industry to call something that they sell a thing that it's not. That's the issue. Just call it what it is, or don't call it anything, but don't call it something that it isn't. If it's not labeled at all, I might risk it. I might not. But if it's billed as one thing and I go home and I open it and I find out that it's something else, therein lies the issue. I don't even care about the provenance of these records, okay? I just want to trust the companies that I'm buying stuff from to tell me the thing that they're selling me is the thing. That's the only thing I care about. I don't care about the provenance. I just don't want you to misrepresent. Tell me as best as you can what it is. And Nobody's saying that you're making an inferior product. You're making a great product. I have some of your records. They're great. I love them. Okay. And I'm not going to stop buying them. But I'm just kindly ask you, can you try a little harder? Just try a little harder. Either like ignorance is bliss. Don't tell me, or tell me the right thing. But don't tell me one thing and then another thing. I don't listen to Spotify because that guy like goes elephant hunting. I choose not to, I got a lot of double standards in my life, but I make choices based on ethics. Okay. And again, like no malicious intent. I give it to you, but just try, please try a little harder. We expect the same thing out of artworks. We want to know if it's original or a copy. Limited editions. Is it really limited? We want to know the number. We want to know it out of, gold, silver. Is it sterling? Is it 24 karat? Say what it is. Is it really handmade? Is it really solid wood? Is it really lead free? Is it really waterproof? Is it really conflict free? Is it really organic or vegan? There's heaps of these, but is it cut from the original master tape? Just yes or no. I just want to know. That's all. We just want to know. So please tell us. And let me close out with this final thing. Photography. I know that a lot of you folks don't care about photography. I'm a photographer. I care a lot about photography. I think there's a lesson somewhere in here. And I want to talk a little bit about, I want to compare this situation to photography and the life of a photograph. Okay. So there's many moments in the life of a photograph. There's the consideration of photography. Oh, photography might be an interesting thing to do. There's researching maybe a camera to buy. Oh, this one looks cool. That one looks cool. There's the day you buy the camera. There's the moment that you load film into it. There's the moment that the image that you want to make is conceptualized. There's a moment when it's composed in the viewfinder, and then there's the moment that you capture it on film, the decisive moment. There's the moment when you go home and you develop it, and when you look at it on the light table, and there it is, your first glimpse of it. It's backwards and it's upside down, but that's the one. You can see something in there that you want to print. There's the moment where you manipulate it in the darkroom and you do the dodging and the burning and flashing and solarization and sepia toning and all of these decisions. There's the moment when it's finally printed. There's the moment when you curate it for an exhibition. There's the moment when you frame it. There's the moment when you hang it on the wall and when an audience sees it for the very first time. Then there's a moment when it's bought, and there's a moment when it's published, and there's a moment when it's forgotten, and there's a moment when it's destroyed. And of all of these moments in the life of a photograph, what is the most important one of them? Is it the day that it's printed? Is it the day that it's made? Is it the day that it's, developed or it's manipulated in the darkroom? What's the most important moment? Well, I can tell you it's different for every single person who practices photography. Some people do not care about photographs. They care about cameras and gear. Some people love the darkroom and they love chemistry and they love playing in the darkroom. Some people see the world through photography. And some people, like to publish or appreciate images that are either hanging in an exhibition or printed in a magazine or a book. And none of them are right or wrong. Everybody can appreciate them in different ways. So I don't exactly know how the one-to-one relation to vinyl music appreciation, but there's a lesson in there somewhere. And just because you care about the music and don't care about the provenance doesn't mean that's not maybe the same reason that somebody else is listening to music. Maybe they're appreciating it because it takes them to a place, okay? Yeah, it's about the music, but it's also about the story, the information, the artwork, the provenance, the ritual. It's about a lot of different things to a lot of different people. So anyway, that's my 2 cents about this whole thing. And I was getting frustrated, although it wasn't a nuclear holocaust level of frustration, but that the fact that the debate was getting conflated on whether or not the record sounded good or if it was from the original master recording, okay? A tape can sound great, and also it can be described more precisely. Those are not contrary takes. Why am I talking about this? I've got no horse in this race. I really don't. But let them. Just let them. Okay. Like and subscribe. There's more I want to share, but yeah, and thanks for tuning in. All right. Drama's over if you want it. Drama's over now.